The desert definitely seems to attract weird. Now, I don't know if there's more weird in the desert than there are other places, or if other things that could be small attractions to weird are absent. And so certain points in the desert attract all the weird. And so all the weird is just condensed like a super dense supernova black hole of weird in the desert in certain points.
Moxie, Greg, and I are riding around the world to raise $100,000 for the nonprofit Girl Up. We're donating 10% of RUFFLY sales to the fundraiser and posting a new episode every week. It's a big dog on two wheels adventure for girls' empowerment. So follow along and please lend your support.
Let's roll it all the way up the hill, and then you do it. You get on and try it.
Let's just roll up this hill.
This one's small. It's a big hill there. You're in second?
Yeah.
We were able to push the bike back up the hill, back to the Airbnb. A guy in his truck came by, this guy Mike, and he had a pit bull in his car, and he saw us struggling to push the bike, and he asked if he could help. We said sure. Soon enough, we got the bike back up here, and the Can-Am that Greg's dad is renting has a charger, and we were able to just use an extension cord. It's now charging right now because for all of the trying that we did to start it, the battery died. So we're gonna try and charge this battery up, and then hopefully it's gonna get a little bit warmer, and then maybe that'll help us to start the bike.
Just a quick time out to tell you how you can support the GoRUFFLY Around the World adventure for Girl Up. You can donate directly to Girl Up at GoRuffly.com/world-adventure. You can make a purchase at GoRuffly.com where 10% goes towards the fundraiser. Tell all your friends and family about it. And of course, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much. Now back to the adventure.
Almost. You could hold on. Nope, not yet. So my bike wouldn't start again, which we expected because it is cold out. It's probably -1 or 0 degrees. So we had a cover over the bike at night, so it didn't get all the frost that the other two bikes did that were further out there. We're on the porch here. So that was good, but it still didn't start. So we have the space heater here trying to heat up the engine a little bit, and then we also have it on the battery charger just in case it has to do with the battery. It should be holding a charge, but who knows? It's a small battery and it just might not be able to handle this cold weather. So hopefully the charging plus the heating is going to help get this started. one, you're allowed to get 5 trout. So I am hoping we will all get 5.
Jess is wearing her backpack baby mama style, so she has full access to everything she needs, and hopefully she will need access because that will probably mean that she caught a fish.
One thing that I really love about bait fishing, and I guess fly fishing too, and that for that matter, but like all the different little baity baits that you can get, it's sort of like how I feel when I go to a dog store and then I want all of these different treats for Moxie. They got the sweet potato and they got the kale, they've got everything. And I want to buy her everything because I want to give her treats. She doesn't give a shit about any of those treats. All she needs is raw meat, and that is what she wants. But I sort of feel the same way about the fish. Like, now they get to try all of these different little baits. And I love going into the bait and tackle places to check out what they've got and see what they recommend. No idea what they recommend here. So now my next try is going to be one of these power baits. Maybe it'll work. Fishing, it's like gambling. It's like you throw it in there and then you just hope and pray that a fish will enjoy your bait and take a bite. And you keep doing it and you keep doing it, and most of the time you lose. Most of the time there are no fish biting, but you still keep doing it and you still enjoy it. I wonder if I have a bit of a gambler's mentality. I was checking in with our shipper that's supposed to bring my bike from Missouri to Reseda, and I asked him for like an update to see if he had already scheduled the shipment, because that's what I was waiting on. And today is Wednesday and it's supposed to be picked up on Thursday. And I said I need it by Monday in Reseda because I'm on this around the world motorcycle trip. I need that bike. And he said, well, you didn't tell me that at the beginning, and like we can't guarantee that. And he said, so I guess we'll have to cancel. Let's turn the fireplace back on. And so I said, well, look, like I need the bike. Is there anything that you can do? Is there an expedited service? And he said, yeah, there's an expedited service if you pay for it.
We found that the solution to really just about any issue or problem or obstacle that comes up on a moto trip is this combination of like money and time. Generally, the more money you have, the less time you need to sort of waste or lose. And so it's sort of a good, fast, cheap sort of a dynamic.
He went ahead and looked at the schedule, and he was able to find a driver to pick up tomorrow at the BMW in Missouri, and then the delivery date is no later than Sunday. So that gives us enough time on Monday to switch over as much as we can from my bike. So that could be all the crash bars and all of that stuff. So then we can ride it over Monday afternoon to Ventura, and then they can do the tire change on Tuesday morning. I hope that this all works out, that my bike arrives safely, and that it's a good bike, considering I've bought it sight unseen in that sense. I haven't ridden it. The dealer has done the servicing. Everything on their end looks good, but you never know. But it's got to be better than what I have right now, considering my bike is turning off all the time when I'm starting it, and it's now giving me like a temperature issue. I don't know. So hopefully this will solve all of those issues, and it'll give us enough time to make it over to Flagstaff for Overland Expo.
You can absolutely do it on the super cheap. There's a lot of ways, but generally it means you've got less options, and you're going to have to be prepared to kind of sacrifice or give time in all of these obstacles that come up. Like Jess's bike, we just try and find like the balance of how we can use the resources that we have available to, you know, play with how much time we're going to lose for a given breakdown or whatever, to come up with the right solution that keeps us going and also, you know, keeps the bank account from getting drained completely. So Moxie started squirming, which means that she needed to go to the bathroom, and it just so happened that we were pretty close to this place called Randsburg, which is just about a mile off of the 395 highway. I guess it was like a mining town that dried up, and I don't know what's happened since then, but it's this small, sort of barely held together town in the middle of the desert here, and I guess a little bit of a tourist draw. It's got an Old West kind of feel. So it's Thursday, which means everything's closed. There's not like a soul around. And so let's see what snacks we have.
I was apprehensive starting, but once we got up, especially when we did the twisties up in the mountains, I think I got some confidence in there. And all in all, it was a great ride. I'm glad you guys talked me into doing this, and I'm glad I could join you for a leg and a few days of your adventure.
In California, you don't need a license, a motorcycle license, to ride a Can-Am. All you need is your vehicle license. They do suggest that you take a rider safety course for the Can-Am, but Mark was able to do it without any of that. The guys showed him the initial stuff about how to reverse and shift and all of that good stuff and adjust his windscreen, and it was easy peasy, and he did great, no problems. It's early Sunday morning, and we're spending the day removing all of my accessories from my old bike and moving it to my new bike. We left early this morning, not as early as we wanted to. We initially said it was going to be a 5 a.m. start. That didn't happen. It was more of like a 6:30 start. We finally left LA. We're on our way to a destination that Greg is really excited about, and it is still another like 3 hours away from where we are right now, which is somewhere. But it's been the first day that I've been riding with my new bike. It's been really good. The throttle is so loose in comparison to my old one. It's just so smooth. I can balance so well when there's traffic and at slow speeds. I just didn't realize what a difference the new bike would make for me. And it's probably because I don't ride other bikes, so I was just sort of accommodating with whatever my previous bike was giving me. If it was a sticky throttle or if the clutch was slipping, I just sort of rolled with the punches when it came to that. So I didn't really realize that it could be that much better. But now I know, and I'm happy that I've got her.
The real attraction on this stretch of Highway 62 in this area of California, which is really just a whole lot of desert, is Joshua Tree, and that's by 29 Palms. But we have come someplace different. This is Sheephole.
To my left here is Sheephole Valley Wilderness. It is called Sheephole, and we wanted to come and check it out. It's actually like a hiking trail.
And so we've come into it. Well, I wouldn't say we haven't really come into it. We have really kind of rimmed Sheephole. You might say we did a bit of a rim job on Sheephole.
It's absolutely beautiful. The only challenge is that everything is sand.
It is a really brutal sand road to get in there. It almost got the better of me. Some of this really deep stuff is quite tough on a really fully loaded heavy bike. So not going any further into Sheephole.
And there really isn't anything, so we're going to picnic here, but I think we'll continue on until we find something that's a little more safe.
Not exactly what you might expect a sheephole to look like, but honest to goodness, this is a sheephole.
Greg and I got separated because he wanted to go a different route on the dirt and I didn't. And then the whole sheephole thing turned out to just be nothing really. So I continued because it was really hot and there was no shade. Moxie was getting hot. So I finally stopped at this place here. It's got like all of these shoes and things hanging, but there's a bit of shade. So we are hanging out here. I got a message from Greg and he said he's taking the northern route. So maybe we'll meet, maybe not. If not, then it's 4 hours to Flagstaff.
The desert definitely seems to attract weird. Now, I don't know if there's more weird in the desert than there are other places, or if other things that could be small attractions to weird are absent. And so certain points in the desert attract all the weird. And so all the weird is just condensed like a super dense supernova black hole of weird in the desert in certain points. But anyway, that's exactly what we've been seeing as we've been riding along here on Highway 62 through the California desert, the Mojave.
This is the Mojave?
Is this the Mojave?
No.
Well, it's some grander. I think
This
Sheephole
is still
said.
Sheepholes.
Yeah, but I think
National
Sheephole said that it is the heart of the Mojave. There was a sign that said heart of the Mojave. So I feel like the Mojave is this grand big thing in this whole area. And if you're not sure if you're in the Mojave or not, then you probably are in the Mojave. And you probably won't be mistaken by saying, well, we're probably in the Mojave. And probably most people wouldn't actually know well enough to be able to say, no, this is actually not where the Mojave ends. This is actually a different desert. Thus, I say we are in the Mojave, and there's lots of weird here.
Okay, so the only thing I just thought about though is it has like our brand, like GoRUFFLY, and this is probably illegal to be probably vandalizing. So somebody potentially could look us up and know that we did this. But I figure if they're going to look us up, they're going to look up Fern Valley Farms. They're going to look up Tusk Off-Road is here. So I think it's okay.
Agreed. Besides, we're not the ones doing this. We can't be held responsible if some superfan who met us and got a sticker decided to put it here so that it would be here immemorial, along with all of the other craziness.
You see, I have my nail polishes still on. I was testing different colors to do touch-ups on my bike. So this one was a little too light, and this one is probably the right one.
There you go. So while other ladies are painting their nails,
I paint my nails so that I can match my bike. I really don't think that this is part of the Mojave. So later, Greg, who is editing this, is going to put it right here to say who was actually right about it. If it is the Mojave, like Greg thinks it is, or if it's something different.
Just been a ride of a breezy 41 degrees Celsius. So we've crossed into Arizona, so hopefully now we are going to begin the trek on the I-40 that sort of begins to rise into Flagstaff, because Flagstaff is at elevation, which means it's cooler, which means it will be a relief when we begin to approach. But for now, we are in the depths of the Mojave, and
it is the Mojave in the end.
It is. They call it the heart of the Mojave. Victory. The victor. After our last stop at the pinnacle of weirdness in the middle of the California Mojave, where there were like shoes hanging from everywhere. Jess put Moxie's sun shield on.
The idea here is that it will provide her with some shade while we're riding in this direct sun. I'm gonna put this over her cockpit, so that's gonna keep her nice and shaded. And especially with the way that the cockpit was designed, there's a lot of airflow areas here, so it'll still allow for air to flow through and keeping her cool, but just give her a little bit of shade.
But then, as soon as Moxie's up there and it's hot, even in the shade, and so Jess is kind of understandably anxious to get going, I am slow like a turtle, methodical, rhythmic, making sure that everything is sorted in its place and the hatches are battened down. And in the haste, Jess bolts off, and what comes flying practically into my face as she goes off? It is the cover, the holder, the pouch for the sun shield. And no big deal other than the fact that this is a narrow highway, 2 small lanes, and the... Whoa, what's going on there? Success. And the shoulders are all like deep sand. So there's nowhere to pull over. So I kind of had a mini panic when I saw this flying out, because who knew what it was until you knew what it was. So something goes flying off her bike, I get anxious about that, and then I couldn't speak.
Okay.
So I just sort of made noises that scared Jess, thinking that her bike is exploding or on fire. I mean, she always thinks everything's a fire hazard, so of course something had to have flames coming out of it. So I'm like unable to put words together, just saying, the fucking thing fell, Jessie. She's getting like increasingly pissed off, and I can't figure out what the word for this is.
What?
So I was able to stop and pick it up, and then we carried on. Eventually my words came back to me, but we did have a nice little heated tiff about it, and all because we rode off too quickly and did not batten down the hatches. So they are a group of motorcycle tours that come here from France. They were just having a great time riding like historic Route 66, and of course got a real kick out of Moxie and Jess riding and all that. Communicating with them was really difficult because they had about as much English as I have French, which is to say, un peu. The other thing that happened is that we came across this ride, and I think they call it California to DC for the Wall. I think they're all Vietnam vets because they're going to the Vietnam Veterans Wall in Washington, DC. There could have well been 70, 80, 100 bikes. At some points, they were in like one long group on the interstate, and then at other moments, they would sort of break up more into 3 or 4 smaller groups. And then they had these like road guards who were sort of the, you know, the vanguard and the rear guard, and making sure everybody was going where they were supposed to go, and also making sure that like nobody that wasn't part of the group was interfering. So really cool to see that, really cool to see all those bikes and all those people doing a ride for what seems to be a good cause, and really kind of colored the day and kept us going for a long haul to Flagstaff. You never know where the road is going to take you and where you're going to wind up at the end of the day. Only sometimes you do, because you make reservations. It is move-in day for Overland Expo. Very excited. I'm excited. We're set to go. We are goggles. We are schnaut bombed, we are helmeted, we are going. It's like a horse.
Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the episode. We went through a lot of climates on this trip. We were in freezing cold weather. We were in the desert in the Mojave where it was like 41 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, I guess. I'm Canadian, I suck at Fahrenheit. But yeah, so we went through all of these different climates, and Moxie was on the back the whole time, and we just sort of had to accommodate for the situation. So when it was really cold, you saw that we put on her doggy jacket, and that was keeping her nice and warm. And I could tell because when you put your hand under the jacket where her fur is, she's nice and warm. So I wasn't noticing any discomfort from her when it came to the cold weather. The hot weather, you saw she was obviously panting and she was hot. And I put the sun shield on her, and that did provide shade. And like I said in the video, we created the cockpit so that it was meant specifically for dealing with this type of hot weather. Because the hot weather, it's hard. It's not like she can't like take off her fur. There's nothing that you can remove to make her feel more comfortable, like you can in cold weather by adding things. So the cockpit was created so that there was going to be a bunch of airflow to deal with these really hot situations. When we were in the Mojave, I had the sun shield on her, and that provided some shade, but it still allowed for a lot of wind to get through so that she was still cooling down, using her natural abilities to cool down with the panting and all of that to help her feel comfortable. I do get a lot of people who ask about when you ride with your dog, what are you supposed to do in those situations? And look, for us, we sometimes have to get places, and that might mean riding through extreme weather, whether that's in the rain of a storm or if it's really hot weather, really cold. Look, we're on an around the world trip. You can't just stop when the weather gets bad and just only ride when it's like in your optimal temperature. For that case, we ride through it. But if you have the option, if you're going on a nice like weekend trip and it looks like it's going to be boiling hot in the middle of the day, well then ride early in the morning or just ride in the evening time when the sun is lower, so that it's not so hot for your dog. And look, we think about that as well when we're riding. That's why when we know it's going to be a really hot day, we try and have an early start, and then take a little break during lunchtime so that when it's really hot, we're somewhere where we're either in the shade or where we can just cool down a little bit, and then try again in the afternoon. So it's something that you can plan for if you have that option. For us, like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we try our best. And I just keep an eye on Moxie. When it's really hot out like that, I stop pretty frequently to give her water, find shade so that she can relax a little bit. In the past, what I've done when it was really hot is I had a cooling pad, a gel cooling pad that I would put on her cockpit, and that would help. It was pressure activated, and that's something that you can add to your cockpit as well if you're riding with your dog, just to give them a little bit of extra, a little bit of coolness. But I find that she does really well in all of these temperatures. And then in the rain, in this episode, we didn't ride in the rain, but there are many where we do. And when we do ride in the rain, she does have her rain fly that we put over her. And when it's really bad, we also have the hood portion of the rain fly that we'll put over her ears. And that just helps her, like she stays 100% dry. The only part that gets wet is her snout. And that's why I have the snout balm. So if it is really hot or really cold, I don't want her to get sunburned or have a chapped nose from the wind. So that seems to really help deal with those situations. But Moxie is a trooper. She really is. She's been able to deal with everything that we've thrown at her. So I'm just in love with my dog. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube and at GoRUFFLY for Facebook and Instagram. We'll talk to you soon.